And we'll do it live. We'll do it live. I got to make sure my volume isn't messed up. Let me make sure my volume isn't too high. Seems pretty good. So the Emperor of Sodom died today. The Emperor of Sodom is dead. And makes me think of Isaiah 14:12. We should read that. What does Isaiah 14:12 say? Let me find it. Isaiah 14:12. Isaiah 14:12. What does it say? Let's find it. Isaiah 14:12 in, let's do the King James Bible. There we go. Isaiah 14:12 from the King James Bible. Let's show the chapter. Oh. Ooh, Isaiah 14:12 context. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? This is the dead speaking. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's read that again. That was good. I like that. Just so you know, the Emperor of Sodom, also known as Pope Francis, died today. And I'm reading from Isaiah 14. Isaiah 14:9, actually. Hell, which is hell is like the actual meaning of hell. That's the English variant of the Greek word for the Hebrew word Sheol, and Sheol basically means like the pit, the grave. It's basically the cemetery, right? It's where you're buried when you die, right? You're buried in a cemetery known as Sheol. They dig a hole, they put you in Sheol. So that's the underworld. That's the grave. That you're in the earth, right? We call that hell, and people use that as an analogy, a metaphor. A metaphor. There's also a metaphor in Christianity for hell, which means to be in a mental state of misery. You're in hell. You're in misery. But hell in the Old Testament refers quite regularly to the grave or the cemetery. So in Isaiah 9, it says, Isaiah 14:9, it says, Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth, all the big shots of the earth that are down there in hell, in the grave. They're coming to meet you, Pope Francis. They're coming to meet you, Pope Francis. They're looking forward to you. They're inviting you to their party, Pope Francis. You're going with them, Pope Francis. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, Pope Francis, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Dead in the grave. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and thy noise of the vials. Vials. What is that? Like violins? What is that? Search Google. I'm going to look up. What does it mean? An instrument. The violin. A viol. It's an instrument. It's a stringed instrument, like a violin. So it says here, Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and thy noise of the vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. Now, the next line is 14:12, but it uses the term Lucifer. And as far as I'm concerned, that can only be applied to the light bearer, which is the word of God. God alone bears the light. So I don't like using that term for anyone but the light bearer, which is the word of God called Christ. But we are reading the King James version. So it says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" See, he was up there in heaven like a king. He was up there. "How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" Right. You weakened the nations. "For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit." Pope Francis organized violence in America. Pope Francis helped organize the burning down of cities in America. Pope Francis promoted deadly drugs that killed millions during the viral incident. Pope Francis literally used his position as the Emperor of Sodom to promote a dangerous experimental drug which killed millions of people before he died. That's what he did with his life. That's what he did with his life. He killed millions of people. People that I know personally died because of the stuff that Pope Francis promoted. I have people, look, I know people who took the drugs that Pope Francis told everybody to take back in 2020. They took those drugs and they died. They died. They're dead because of him. Not just because of him, because they were stupid enough to follow this stuff. My father died within a year of taking that. And I suspect my mother may have taken it, although she said she didn't. But I suspect maybe she did because she was also dead within a year. And my mother and father both died within a few months apart. They were both dead within a few months apart. And it just so happened to come after that event. And my father did take it. And my father had pre-existing condition, which once he took that, within a year he was dead or so. I believe it was about a year. He died a year ago in March. So that was 24. Wasn't exactly a year. It was a little more than a year. But it didn't take much. I mean, he didn't live long after he started taking that. But it wasn't just him. There's other people that I know who are my customers that are dead. I've got dead customers who I liked. And they took that and they're dead. And these are people that said to me, hey, did you take the drug that's being pushed by all the media and the Pope? And I said, no, I didn't take it. I'm not going to take it. I didn't make a big issue of it. But the drug the Pope was pushing that killed millions, they said, are you going to take that? Are you taking that? Because everybody was pushing it. Everyone was heard the television that's run in coordination with the Vatican. They were all pushing the same thing. And the Pope himself was pushing it. He was pushing it. He was pushing it because they're invested in it. They made millions or possibly billions of dollars off it. That's why they wanted it to be free for everybody so that the governments would pay for it, so that their investment was insured by the government. So they were guaranteed to get their money. That's what they mean. So when the Pope comes out and says, everyone needs to have this for free because of vulnerable people, and he speaks with his baby talk, like he's got marbles in his mouth. Poor little me just loves everyone. Okay, he killed millions of people. He's a mass. He's a genocidal piece of shit, is what he is. He killed millions of people. People that I know, people that I liked. They're dead because of him. They're dead because of him. Shall I read you this poem again from Isaiah? Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and thy noise of the vials. The worm is spread under thee, and thy worms cover thee. That's where you belong. That's where you belong, King of Sodom, Emperor of Sodom. That's where you belong. You're a killer. You are a killer. You're a murderer. You are a murderer. And you are where you belong. You belong in the grave because you're a killer. You're a mass murderer. You're a genocidal pervert. That's what you are. I'm talking about Pope Francis, the Pope of Rome. That's who I'm talking about. Don't like it? Fuck you. Fuck you, killer. Fuck you, killer. You think all your little flowery shit tricks me? It doesn't, because I'm not an idiot. I'm not an idiot. I'm not fooled by your flowery bullshit and your little dress up. That doesn't fool me. No, I know you're a killer. I know you're a pervert. I know you're a genocidal pervert and a killer, and that you killed millions of people. And some of those people I know personally, and other people that I don't know personally, I watched them die. I watched them die. I heard the news. Moms, people who have kids, they're dead, or their kids are dead because of Pope Francis and his drug business, his global extermination drug business. Right. And who did they kill? Europeans, Americans. The blacks were smart enough not to take it in most cases, to be honest. He killed a lot of white people. And he backed, let's just aside from that. Let me get off that subject, okay? I could go on forever. He backed, Pope Francis backed BLM riots, burning down of American cities, the burning down of American cities, the murder of people on the street, and not just white people that were attacked by BLM, black people. I watched black people get murdered by the rioters, by the BLM rioters. And it was Pope Francis who went out of his way to promote that with his own words through the Catholic Church. Pope Francis did that. Pope Francis did that. Pope Francis did that. That's who did it. He backed BLM. That was his thing. That was his thing. You know that little term, the mafia, our thing? Well, that was his thing, was BLM. That's Pope Francis's thing during Donald Trump's first term. That's why there was so much violence. That's why American cities were burning. That's why there were Antifa checkpoints on the roads, armed Antifa checkpoints, with people with guns to stop you and harass you on the street. That they were doing that, whether they know it or not, and they don't because they're stupid. They were doing that in coordination with Pope Francis. Like Pope Francis, if you want to think of the Pope, what is the political agenda of the Vatican? It's LGBT, BLM, Antifa, violence, burning down your city, bringing in the drugs, backing the lockdowns, while at the same time backing the disarmament of Americans, supporting the stifling of free speech of Americans. That's Pope Francis. That's the Vatican. And there's a lot of good people who are super good. They're just so good, and they really are. They're good. They're decent folks that support the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, because that's their tradition, and they just keep doing it. They just keep doing it, and it doesn't matter how evil. It doesn't matter how evil and satanic they are over at the Vatican. It doesn't matter what they could do anything. They could look. Pope Francis burned down American cities. Now, here's the thing. I already told you that. So listen, here I love Donald Trump, okay? Donald Trump is great. However, listen to what he said. Let's hear what he said about Pope Francis. Donald Trump. Donald Trump's a great guy, right? Donald Trump. Pope Francis. What does he say? He mentions Pope Francis. What does he say? Here's ABC News. I got to sit through a commercial probably. Another shitty commercial. Shit that I will never buy. Shit that I don't want to see. God. So annoying. I can't skip it either. Yeah.
I just signed an executive
Here's
order
Trump.
putting the flags of our country, all of them, all federal flags and state flags.
Can you hear this?
In honor of
Let me
Pope
turn it up.
Francis. So he was a good man.
Okay, okay. So here's Trump, right? And I like Trump. I voted for. How many times do I have to tell you? I voted for Trump 3 times. I love Donald Trump. I love Melania. They're standing there together, right? It's Easter. They're talking about Pope Francis or whatever. And I really like Donald Trump, but what he's saying here is really not. It has no bearing on reality, and this is the problem with politicians. And I love Trump, and I'm not gonna like bust his balls over this. But what he's saying here is just dumb. Okay, let's just listen to this. Everything he says here, I disagree with.
Putting the flags of our country, all of them, all federal flags and state flags at half-mast in honor of Pope Francis.
Now, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you do that for a degenerate, satanic, mass murdering piece of shit, sodomite garbage like Pope Francis? Why would you do that? Oh, because there's a lot of Catholics in America. That's not a good reason. We need to have our own stuff in America. We need to have our own stuff. Later, you know what? I need to go check on what Nick Fuentes or E. Michael Jones is saying about this, because they're probably like, "Oh, Pope Francis, dude." That's what I'm saying. Like these people, it's what like if you say, and I agree with you, AIPAC shouldn't have any influence in America because they're the Jewish lobby and they represent a foreign government. Okay, great. I agree with you. And the same goes for Pope Francis and the Vatican. They can just fuck off because we're the Americans. We're not this other thing. And as far as the District of Columbia is concerned, dissolve the whole thing and start over again. Just start from scratch. Put the just turn. I don't know what to do with DC. Just dissolve the District of Columbia and start from scratch. Whatever. Let's listen to Donald Trump. Let's listen to Donald Trump. What does Donald Trump have to say?
So he was a good man.
No, he wasn't a good man. Look, Donald. Donald Trump. Please watch this video. Can someone send this video to Donald Trump? Donald Trump, I think you're the best, man. I think you're the best president since George Washington, or at least since Andrew Jackson, okay? I think you're the best president since at least Andrew Jackson, okay? I really do. But Pope Francis is the guy who backed the BLM riots that were burning down cities across America while you were president in order to cause problems for you personally. So he wasn't a good man. Why are you saying that?
He was a good man.
No.
Worked hard.
Worked hard at what? Worked hard at what? Promoting mass migration of Muslims into Europe, burning down American cities with the Black Lives Matter movement, promoting sodomy all across Europe and America, which includes what most Catholics don't realize, includes the abortion groups. He's actually supporting that. He I know you don't believe me. I know you don't believe me. I know you don't believe me because you're in the cult. You're in the cult. So you can't believe me. You can't believe that. You can't believe it. It's just unbelievable. Well, listen, man. Who's you don't believe me? You don't believe that Pope Francis supports fucking killing babies? Well, who's Gavin Newsom? And who's Joe Biden? And who's Nancy Pelosi? Who are those people? Those are agents of the Pope. I mean, those are people that are backed by the Pope. So I don't know what fucking planet you're on if you think this is, wake up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you this. I know it hurts your feelings. I know it hurts. I know it's painful. But I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep telling the truth. You know why? Because I worship the Logos, which is the truth, which is the light of God, which is Jesus Christ, is the light, is the truth. And it has nothing to do with your emperor of perversion, your emperor of death, your emperor of sodomy. It has nothing to do with that. And I'm sorry, but why do you even follow that in the first place? Why don't you just follow Christ, the King, the Logos, the Word of God, the light bearer? Let's continue. What did Donald Trump say next?
He loved the world, and it's an honor to do that.
Yes, he loved the world of sodomy, the world of money, the world of drugs, the world of child trafficking through the Mother Teresa bullshit cult that she's in. I don't remember what it's called, but they all wear the same colored outfits. Trafficking the kids to the Epstein network through the orphanages. I mean, do I need to prove that to you again? Do I need to prove that to you? Right. He set up a little cult that runs all the orphanages, that traffics the kids, the babies, and the young kids that don't have any parents to the Epstein group. Pope Francis. I don't have to. All the popes did that. Was it Pope Francis that did that too? I don't know. I've got the pictures of the. Yeah, it was Pope Francis. Yeah, Pope Francis. There's a cult, the Mother Teresa cult. What's it called? Mother Teresa cult. Pope Francis. What Pope Francis? So Mother Teresa formed a cult, right? And her cult, what was the name of her group that she's in? She was in a group. I don't know. I don't know what the name of it is. But you know how she wears that special outfit with the blue, with the white and blue colors. So that group, there's a group, and they run the orphanages, and they traffic the kids from the orphanages to the pedophiles. Look, did you hear what I just said? I'm not fucking lying. I'm not joking either. That group that's run by Pope Francis, who's a fucking sodomite piece of shit, traffics children from the orphanages to the pedophiles. Okay, he traffics the babies and the young kids that don't have any parents in these poor countries from the orphanages to the pedophiles. That's the network. That's the network. It's a pedophile network. That's just one of the things they do. That's just one of the things they do. So don't tell me he was a good person. Don't tell me he's a good person when he's burning down America. Look, I'm an American. My cities are being burned down because this fucking piece of shit asshole Pope Francis. Yeah, he's burning down my cities. I'm a fucking man, okay? I'm not part of your fucking flower cult. You're fucking shit. Okay, I'm a man. You're gonna burn down my fucking city? Fuck you, man. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck BLM. You guys burned down the fucking cities and you killed people, including black people. In fact, all the people I saw that got murdered by you were black, I think. I think some white people got beat up, But I watched black people get killed by you. Fuck you, man. Go to hell. Go to hell. Enjoy your worm blanket, you piece of shit. Pope Francis. Fuck you. Fuck you. Let's listen to Donald Trump some more.
I want to thank everybody for being here. This is some band. I've heard this band actually indirectly for 4 years and very directly now for 4.5. And I like the direct method even better. But the Marine Corps band is very, very special. Thank you very much. What a great job. Thank you.
I love Trump. I mean, he's a great guy. It's so nice to have him as the president.
National Park Service.
Okay, so he's done with Pope Francis, I guess. Understand something, though. Pope Francis organized, or at least promoted, and like literally, you want to hear? You want to see the article? You think I'm full of shit? You think I'm lying? You think I'm lying? Let me give you the article. Look, I'll read you the fucking article, okay? Let me just read you some of the shit Pope Francis promoted. Oh, it's horrible. Horrible Pope. Okay, here's an article I'll read you of Pope Francis. Okay. In this June 1st, it's hard for me to read some of this stuff because I've got them in like memes and stuff. Vatican City, Pope Francis called George Floyd by name twice and offered support to an American bishop who knelt in prayer during a Black Lives Matter protest. Understand that. A Black Lives Matter protest. Black Lives Matter is I know we call them Democrats, but I don't. That's a meaningless term, really. They're the left wing of the Republican communist establishment. The left wing of the Republican Party, just like the Communist Party in Russia, has a left wing and a right wing. Same as Russia. Same as Russia. Same as Russia. There's a conservative wing and there's the left wing, and it's all the Communist Party or Republican, however you want to put it. I shouldn't even talk about Russia this way because I'm gonna do another video on Russia. Okay, their form, what they had as communism is different than what we have. It's not even the same. It's nothing like what we have. What our communism is the real one. Their thing was different. They didn't do real communism. We did. But anyway, so the left wing, which we call the Democrats today, because we're stupid. They organized riots and violence, and the Pope was part of it. He was the one directing it from his position. See, it's a network of our coalition of groups, and the Pope has a role, and what he does is he lends credibility to the crime network. So the Pope lends his credibility to all the organized crime by saying that this is the right thing to do. And all the Catholics who are brainwashed by the Pope go, oh, yeah, the Pope says this is good, even though it's not good. It's terrible. But so anyway, the Pope says, Pope Francis called George Floyd by name twice and offered support to an American bishop who knelt in prayer during a Black Lives Matter protest. Why would you kneel and pray to to George Floyd? Right. Why would you kneel and pray to a criminal instead of the logos, man? See, this is what I'm talking about. Why choose a criminal over the logos? Why choose a criminal over the logos? Why choose a drug-addicted criminal over the logos? Because you're a Catholic and you follow the Pope, which is stupid. You shouldn't do that. It says Cardinals black and white have spoken about George Floyd's death, which was he died of an overdose of drugs. That's why his heart stopped beating. And the Vatican's communications juggernaut has shifted into overdrive to draw attention to the cause he now represents. Right. So he dies of an overdose on drugs, but they use it for their own political agenda, which is to fuck America over, to screw America over, to cause violence in America. That's the Pope. That's the Vatican. That's the Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church in America is used to cause violence and bloodshed and chaos for their political agenda to stay in political power in America. They want power over America. They want the power. They want the political power in America. And so they used this stupid BLM shit. I'll continue. Under normal circumstances, Floyd's killing at the hands. Okay, I shouldn't even repeat this because it's not true. But this is what the Vatican is saying, which is a fucking lie. So right there you go. Who's the father of lies, according to the Bible? Who's the father of lies? Satan, the devil. Right. Jesus is the truth. Jesus is the truth. Jesus is the truth. The Pope is satanic. The Pope is a pervert. The Pope is a degenerate. The Pope is a sodomite. The Pope is subversive. The Pope is a criminal. The Pope is a mass murderer who not only burned down American cities, but promoted drugs that killed millions of people in America, particularly people that I know personally, are dead because of that fucking piece of shit, Pope Francis. Under normal circumstances, Floyd's killing at the hands of a white police officer, that has nothing to do with anything. Look, your heart doesn't stop beating because you encounter a white police officer. I'm sorry. Look, I understand. Look, if you're black and you're watching this and you're like, dude, I've been screwed over by the police. I get it. I know. I've hated police at certain. There's been times in my life that I absolutely hated the police because they do shitty stuff. They do shady stuff. Look, the police are just like everybody else in the world, right? Now, I worship the Logos. I worship the truth. I worship Christ, the Logos, the eternal truth. So I try to commit my mind and my behavior to what is true, which includes what is right and what is just. But the average policeman isn't doing that, okay? I understand it. And there's some police that are really great, honest people, and there are some that are totally no different than Al Capone or some mafia figure. I know this I've encountered it in my life. I've encountered police officers that are like the mafia. That's real. Okay. It has nothing to do with this situation. George Floyd's heart stopped beating because of the fentanyl or whatever drugs he was on, not because a white police officer. Has nothing to do with anything. Now, the fact that the Pope is lying about it is because the Pope is a liar. And that's what I'm telling you. The Pope is a liar. The Pope is a criminal. The Pope is a piece of worm food right now. And that is where he belongs. He belongs to the worms. That's where he doesn't belong among humanity. Right. He belongs to the worms. That's where he belongs. He is where he belongs right now with his worm bed, his worm blanket, just as depicted in Isaiah 14. Let's continue. Under normal circumstances, George Floyd's killing at the hands of a white police officer did not happen. The police officer didn't overdose him on drugs. Sorry. And the global protests, get it? They're global protests denouncing racism and police brutality. Their global protests might have drawn a muted diplomatic response from the Holy See, but in a U.S. election year, the intensity and consistency of the Vatican's reaction suggests that, from the Pope on down, it is seeking to encourage anti-racism protesters while making a clear statement about where American Catholics should stand ahead of President Donald Trump's bid for a second term in November. So the Pope was actively pushing the narrative. It was coming from the Vatican. The violence was being encouraged by the Vatican to get rid of Donald Trump under the guise of anti-racism. has nothing to do with racism. The police officer who arrested George Floyd did not force him to take drugs that made his heart stop beating. Sorry, you're a liar, right? The Pope is a liar, and the Pope is a criminal, and the Pope is a killer. And I've said many times. Now I'm going to change the subject to the East and Russia. And it's not just Pope. See, Pope Francis was backing the war, backing just like he backed BLM and LGBT to cause violence in America, just like he backed the dangerous drugs that killed millions in America in the virus lockdowns, which he supported, which were all run by groups connected to the Pope, like the CIA and Georgetown University and the Jesuit people like Anthony Fauci and the people at the CDC and the people at Georgetown University and the people at the United Nations, like Tedros. This is the Vatican operation. The lockdowns, the drugs, the mass murder, right? The imprisonment of an entire planet. That was organized by the Vatican through their agencies around the world, through governments they control, through the AFL-CIO and the CIA and the various mafia organizations and the CDC and the university systems that are all controlled by the unions that are connected to the international unions. See, that's the Pope. It's an organized crime gang, but it's very powerful and it's very dangerous and it's deadly and it's perverted. It's very perverted. It's horrifying. It's satanic. See, that is the core of evil, at least for the Western world. You could say that the East has their own problems, but they're connected to us, but they have their own problems. But the core of evil of the Western world is the Vatican. And there's different centers. There's the Vatican, there's Switzerland and the Davos Group, there's the Bank of England, there's Washington, D.C., there's New York, there's San Francisco. There's different centers where they're coordinating this satanic program of death, genocide, and murder, and abuse. Notice how sexual abuse is mainstream to engage in abusive sexual behavior. Do you understand what abuse means? Abuse means to use incorrectly. Abuse, sexual abuse, right? It's a cult of abuse. It's a cult of abuse. That's all organized by the Pope. It's all organized by the Pope. The Pope is the Emperor of Sodom. It's a satanic organization. It is seeking to encourage anti-racism, by which they mean violence towards white people specifically. Anytime you see the words anti-racism, that means violence towards white people specifically violence towards white people. That's what anti-racism means. It doesn't mean anything else. It means kill white people. That's what they mean by anti-racism. They want you to kill white people. They want you to fight white people. They want you to rise up in violence, bloodshed towards white people. That's been the whole program since the end of World War II and through World War II. So anyway, that's the Pope. What else can I say about it? I don't know that I can say anything else about it. I don't have anything else I really want to say about it. But I've said it all. End of stream.